أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. O Allah, send your blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the All-Beneficent, the All-Merciful. O Allah, I begin the glorification of you with praising you, and you always guide us to the right out of your favoring upon us. And I am certain that you are the most merciful of all those who show mercy in situations of pardon and mercy. But you are the very exacting in situations of giving exemplary punishment and chastisement to the wrongdoers. And you are the greatest omnipotent in the domain of absolute power and might. O Allah, you have permitted me to pray and beseech you. So listen, O the All-Hearer, to my words of praise, and please reply my prayer, O the All-Merciful. And please overlook my slips, O the Oft-Forgiving. You, O my God, have relieved so many of my griefs, and you have dispelled so many of my sorrows, and you have overlooked so many of my slips, and you have spread over me many of your mercies. And you have unlocked so many of rings of misfortune in which I was detained. All praise be to Allah, who has not betaken wife or son, and who has no partner in the sovereignty, nor he has any protecting friend through dependence, and magnify him with all magnificence. Allah is the greatest. All praise be to Allah with all gratitude for all His bounties. All praise be to Allah who has no opposition in His rule, nor there is any challenge to His commands. All praise be to Allah who has no counsel to meddle with His operation of creation, nor there is anything similar to Him in His greatness. All praise be to Allah whose commandments are active in the creation and the praising of who is incumbent. His glory is evident through His kindness. His distinct overflowing generosity is freely available. His unlimited bestowals do not exhaust, and He does not swell the numerous benefits except because of generosity and kindness. Verily, He is mighty, generous. O Allah, I ask for some from much, in the midst of my many needs for which I entirely depend upon you, and you since eternity are able to do without them, but for me it is a titanic effort, and for you it is a very easy and simple. O Allah, truly as you pardon my sins, and you overlook my mistakes, and you take a lenient view of my disorderly conduct, and you cover up my foul actions, and you show consideration in spite of my many transgressions committed willfully or neglectfully. All that tempted me to ask for that which I do not deserve from you on account of your mercy, that you may give me the daily bread, and you may provide with that which is suitable for me through your control, and you may distinguish me with favorable reply to my requests. So I persist in calling out, believing in you, and I invoke you, talking familiarly, not afraid nor shy, but assured of your loving kindness whenever I turn to you at temporary setback, and I, out of ignorance, begin to despair. Although perhaps slowing down may be a blessing in disguise, because you alone knows all the consequences. I do not know a generous master who is more accommodating to the dissatisfied servants than you are to me. O Lord, you give an invitation, but I turn down, and you become familiar with me, but I do not care for you, and you show affection to me, but I do not correspond to you, as if you are overreaching me, yet you do not abstain from having mercy upon me and doing favors to me and blessing me out of your magnanimity and generosity. So please have mercy on your ignorant servant and bestow upon him with the favors of your beneficence. Verily you are generous and kind. All praise be to Allah, the owner of the sovereignty, who sets the course of skies and the stars, who controls the winds, who causes the daybreak, and who administers the authority, the Lord of the worlds. All praise be to Allah for His indulgence, although He has full acquaintance with all things. All praise be to Allah for His amnesty, although He has full power over all things. All praise be to Allah for the respite that He allows in spite of provocation. He is able to do whatever He wills. All praise be to Allah, the Creator of all the created beings, who makes the sustenance freely available, who starts the day, who is the owner of glory, might, favors, and bounties, and who is so far away that none can ever see Him, and in the same time He is so near that He is fully aware of even the whispering secrets. Blessed and exalted be He. All praise be to Allah, who has no equal to challenge Him, nor is there an image comparable to Him, nor is there a helper to assist him. He tames the powerful by his force, and disgraced are the great ones before his greatness. So he, through his power, fulfills that which he wills. All praise be to Allah, who gives answer to me whenever I call him, and he covers up my shortcomings, yet I disobey him. And he gives me the largest part of the bounties, yet I do not show his gratitude. Many auspicious favors had he given me, and many a terrible dangers had he turned off, and many a blossoming joys had he made available for me. Therefore I sing his praises and recite his glorifications, and mention him with exaltation. All praise be to Allah, whose screen cannot be penetrated, and whose door is not blocked, and whose beseecher is not rejected, and one who hopes him is not disappointed. All praise be to Allah, who secures the frightened ones, who comes to the help of the upright ones, who promotes the cause of the weak ones, annihilates the autocrats, who destroys rulers and appoints others instead. All praise be to Allah, the eradicator of the tyrants, the terminator of the unjust ones, the catcher of the fugitives, the punisher of the unjust ones, the aid of the seekers, the settler of the needs of the beseechers, and the support of the faithful believers. All praise be to Allah. In His awe-inspiring fear, the heavens and its dwellers tremble and shiver, and the earth and its inhabitants shake and quiver, and the oceans and all that which float and swim in their waters flow together in excitement and tumult. All praise be to Allah, who has guided us to this. We could not truly have been led aright if Allah had not guided us. All praise be to Allah, who creates but He is not created, and He gives subsistence but He needs no provisions, and He gives foods to eat but He takes no nourishment, and He makes the living dead, and He brings the dead to life, but He is the ever living. There is no death for Him. In His hands is all the good, and He is able to do all the things. O Allah, please do send blessings on Muhammad, your servant and messenger, and your confident friend and beloved intimate, and the choicest of your created beings, and the bearer of your sacraments, and the quotient of your messengers, who with the most superior, the most exquisite, the most handsomer, the most perfect, the most upright, the most prospering, the most pleasant, the most thoroughly purified, the most sublime, the most and the best blessings, advantages, mercies, and affections, and salutations that you have ever made available to any one of your servants and prophets, and messengers, and choicest people, and those honored by you from among your created beings. O Allah, please send blessings on Ali, the commander of the believers, and the successor of the messenger of the Lord of the world, your servant, your beloved representative, and the brother of your messenger, and your decisive argument over the mankind, and your most important sign, and the great news from you. And please do send blessings on the truthful, pure lady, Fatima, the doyen of the women of the world. And please do send blessings on the sons of the mercy to the world, and the two leaders of true guidance, Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, the two chiefs of the dwellers of the paradise. And please do send blessings on the leaders of the Muslims, Ali bin al-Hussein, Muhammad bin Ali, Ja'far bin Muhammad, Musa bin Ja'far, Ali bin Musa, Muhammad bin Ali, Ali bin Muhammad, Al-Hassan bin Ali, and the successor, the guide and the rightfully guided. Those Imams are your decisive arguments over your servants, your truthful confidence in your lands, blessings that are numerous and non-stop. O Allah, please do send blessings on the custodian of your commandments, the vigilant guardians, the reliable patron, and the awaited justice. And please surround him with your favorite angels, and assist him with the Holy Spirit. O the Lord of the worlds, O Allah, please choose him to be the caller to your book and the fore-establisher of your religion, and make him succeed in the earth as you caused those who were before him to succeed, and establish for him his faith which you have approved for him, and give him an exchange safely after the fear. He serves you, he ascribes nothing as partner to you. O Allah, please give him power and authority, and through him strengthen the people, and give him the necessary assistance, and through him support the people, and help him with a mighty help, and make him prevail over all with easiness, and delegate him your controlling authority. O Allah, please give currency to your religion and to your Prophet's traditions through him, so that nothing which is just and genuine is kept concealed from any one of the human beings. O Allah, We ardently desire that you confer upon us a respectful government through which you may reactivate Islam and stimulate its followers, and and humiliate the impostors and their double-dealing shams, and include us among those who invite people to the obedience to you, and lead them to your approved path, and give us the good of this world and the world to come. O Allah, let us bear out and hold up that which you make known to us as the truth, and let us be fully aware of that which we fall short of doing. O Allah, through him set in order our disorder, gather and unite our flock, stitch together our ripped open separation, turn our want and poverty into enough, lift us up from our degradation, free us from our misery, pull us out from our debts, set up our poverty, fill the gap created by confusion among us, let our difficulties be easy to deal with. Refine our substance and style, untie our ropes and straps, let our efforts succeed well and secure success. Make us fulfill our promises, give answers to our prayers, listen to our requests, cause us to obtain the good of this world and the hereafter. Give us much and more than our expectations, O the best of givers and bestowers, and cleanse our hearts, unburden our emotions from hate and anger, and in the event of dispute in the matter of truth, show us the right path. Verily you guides whosoever you will to the right path. Let us through him get the better of your enemies and our opponents. O true God, be it so. O Allah, we complain to you about the departure of your Prophet, your blessings be on him and on his household, and about the absence of our leader, and about the big numbers of our enemies, and about our few numbers, and about widespread disorder, and about vicissitudes of time against us. So please do send blessings on Muhammad and his household, and help us overcome all that through victory from you that you expedite, and through relieving us from our injuries, and through your help that you confirm, and through bringing in the rule of justice and fair play, and through mercy that you expand over us, and through good health that you cover us with, out of your mercy, O the most merciful of all those who show mercy. O Allah, send your blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. Surah Al-Fatiha.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم وفرقانه المجيد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Respected sisters and brothers, my youngsters, my elders, viewers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon all of you. In our previous discussion, I had mentioned that I would just finish our discussion on Dua Ahad, the dua or the supplication of allegiance, of promise, in which we are pledging our allegiance to the Imam. And I had mentioned that the sixth Imam said that whoever recites this for 40 days consecutively. So that also means that we cannot miss our Salatul Fajr, our morning prayers. That means we cannot be delayed in it. And at the same time, it's reminding us that when the 12th Imam does make his reappearance, the reappearance will actually be taking place in the morning part. So those who are awake for Salatul Fajr, for the morning prayers, they will actually hear the voice that the Imam has reappeared, the Imam's reappearance has taken place, and inshallah they will be the first to hear that voice that the Imam is there. So this prayer, again, a very, very important one. It has been included in the du'as of the book of supplications and du'as, namely Mifatih al-Jinan, Sahifa Mahdiya. Various supplication books have narrated this dua of Ahad, and it has been, those of you who perhaps want to, inshallah, start reading it. And my suggestion, my encouragement as a humble brother, as a humble servant, is to make a pledge that, okay, starting tomorrow, I'll try and recite Dua Ahad. I'll make a target for 40 days minimum, inshallah. And if you go on Google, if you go on duas.org, you will find it in there. You will find Dua Ahad, and it doesn't take very long. There's, as I mentioned in yesterday's discussion, there's a short version which will only take you about 4 or 5 minutes to recite. Slightly longer version which might take you 10 minutes to recite. Okay. In either case, of course, we're dedicating ourselves to the Imam. We are pledging ourselves that this is the allegiance that we're giving to the Imam, that we will try to be with him, we will try to support him, we will make sure that our actions, our deeds are pleasing the Imam. Because remember, if the Imam is pleased with us, then of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with us, because the Imam is Allah's representative on earth. And I keep reminding ourselves of this point, that there is always a hujjah, a representative of God on this earth. And the Imam is the current representative of Allah on this earth. Then that is why the earth can never be without a representative of Allah. It is the Imam's grace, the Imam's bounty, the Imam's existence that keeps the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Almighty Allah, flowing on this earth. And that is the blessing that we have got in this world right now. So we have to pledge ourselves. We need to keep our communication, our seriousness alive for the Imam. And one of the things that we have said, that while the Imam is in occultation, there is actually a narration from the Imam himself. From the Imam himself, there is a narration which has been again included in books like Biharul Anwar, the illuminated ocean, whereby Allama Majlisi has narrated on the authority of the Imam a narration, a hadith that says that the ulama, the scholars who narrate our hadith, who control their desires, who don't go after worldly issues and worldly desires, they are an authority over you as we are an authority over them. So the Imam established a link. And one of the things that we as Shia Jafri have got is something very unique. The Shia Jafri, for example, if you look at our ulama today, our scholars today, whether you look at Ayatollah Safi Gulpaigani, Ayatollah Khamenei, Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Nasir Makarim, any of the living Maraja, Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani, they were taught by a generation just prior to them. So whether it was Imam Khomeini, Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, Ayatollah Sayyid Gulpaigani himself, Muhammad Rada Gulpaigani, and this generation was taught by Sheikh Abdul Karim Hayri's generation, and you were to go back, you will find an uninterrupted chain from our scholars today, our senior scholars, the Maraja, from today right up until Imam Sahib al-Zaman's birth, uninterrupted, without any gaps in that chain. So you can go step by step by step. And again, books have been written on this that trace the narration right back to Imam Sahib al-Zaman's time. And as a result of going up to Imam Mahdi's time, Ajjalallahu ta'ala dhuhuru, may Allah hasten his reappearance, all the way back to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and back to the Holy Prophet of Islam. So an uninterrupted chain right from that era to our present era. No other Muslim can claim this. Okay? And so as a result, what we find is that the scholars have been the Prophet himself has said that the scholars of my ummah, the scholars of my ummah are like the prophets of Bani Israel. They're like the prophets of the era of the Israelites. The prophets are the warithul anbiya. Al-ulama warithul anbiya. That the prophets are the inheritors of the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. And so the status of the scholars has been very important because each senior scholar is a representative of the Imam. So a chain is established. The Imam is the representative of Allah, and the ulama, the maraja, are the representatives of the Imam. And that is why after every dua I've tried, after every one of our lectures, to pray for the ulama, to pray for the scholars, to pray for our sins. So these duas are reminding us that these scholars have a very important responsibility, and they are the trustees on behalf of Imam Sahib al-Amr, the authority of the time, the Imam of the time. One of the reasons why I bring this out, as Eid is coming close, oftentimes people use the Eid directive or the Eid ruling of how to determine Eid or how to determine the beginning of any month, for example, because Eid is connected to that. The first of the month of Shawwal is the determination of Eid. So you have to know how to determine which is the first of the month. That will then let us know which is Eid. And it is at that time, in these last days of Ramadan, especially the last day of Ramadan al-Sharif, whereby people become very, I don't want to say naughty, but obnoxious, rude, and mocking these ulama and the scholars. And they often say, oh, why can't we do Eid tomorrow? Why is tomorrow have to be the 30th of Ramadan? Why this? Why that? Why do the ulama have this masail? Why is this fatwa there? This ruling is there? Why is it like this? And then there's all kinds of arguments come about. People start saying ill things about ulama. And sometimes, especially at the time of Eid, we hear people saying horrible things about scholars, about the maraja, that they wouldn't even say about an ordinary person. About an ordinary person, they wouldn't say what they start saying about ulama just because they want to do Eid tomorrow. The next day they really want Eid, and then they don't care about anything. Here, this is a very dangerous trend, and I've heard this over and over the years. Oh, everybody else is doing Eid today, why can't I do Eid? Everybody else is celebrating Eid, why do I have to fast tomorrow? And then the arguments come. Oh, this shows disunity. We are disunited. And if we were to do it, and I often go step by step in responding to this. If anybody in the audience today who's listening to this lecture feels that by doing Eid on the same day, we will all of a sudden suddenly become united, we have not really understood the problems in the Muslim Ummah. We have not understood the challenges facing us as an ummah. If we all feel that we have done Eid on the same day, now we're united, the issue of Palestine will be solved, the issue of Kashmir will be solved, the issue of Yemen will be solved, the issue of Jannatul Baqi will be solved, the issue of Syria will be solved, the issue of Bahrain will be solved. If you think that everything will be solved just because we do Eid on the same day, we have not really comprehended the challenges facing the Muslim Ummah. And at the same time, if you think that by doing Eid on different days, we are disunited, There's no real value to that. We can still have Eid on different days and be united, or at the same time, on the opposite side, we can do Eid on the same day and still be a disunited ummah. Please remember, my sisters and brothers, doing Eid on the same day is not a determining factor of unity or disunity. Please, very important fact to keep in mind. If, for example, we look at one thing, let's say we were in the time of the Prophet. We were in the time of Prophet, because there are certain slight differences amongst the ulama about what determines the first of the month. What are the criteria for the sighting of the moon? What should we use scientific data? Should we use the physical eyesight? Can we use telescopes or binoculars? All these things come up. I'll just briefly mention that. So what we find is, let us say I was there in the time of the Prophet, or I was there in the time of any of the Imams. It was the 29th day, or the 28th day passes, 29th day comes, the 29th day comes, and I go outside and I see the hilal, the tiny crescent. What is the determining factor for those of you, just as a reminder for those of you who may not remember, when you see the tiny crescent after the 29th day, that would determine whether tomorrow is going to be the first of the next month, or whether, if I don't see it and nobody sees it, tomorrow will come, then the next day will be the 30th of the Islamic month. Okay? So I am the time of the Imams, I see the hilal, I see the crescent. And it is the 29th day of Ramadan has passed. Now, nobody else has seen it, because that crescent only lasts for about maybe 8, 10, 15 minutes maximum. And it's only at the time of Maghrib that you will see it if it is already born, the crescent is already born. There's a lot of criteria about the birth of the moon, about when the visibility will be. There's a very good website called moonsighting.com. If you want to go on it, the gentleman, Brother Khalid, basically has got various criteria on where it can be seen, how the curves are, where the visibility will be likely, which countries can see it, which countries cannot. It's already there on moonsighting.com. Inshallah, the brother has done a very fantastic job of bringing the scientific data and seeing where the visibility is possible. So if I was to be in the time of the Masumin, the infallibles, alayhimus salam, peace be upon them, and I saw the hilal, the moon, for me to fast tomorrow is haram. I must celebrate it. But nobody else saw it. So for all of them to fast is compulsory, is wajib. For me to fast tomorrow is haram. Same thing can happen in a family. One of the members of the family sees the moon themselves, but 2 witnesses are required to see the moon. 2 adil, just witnesses who are not known to commit sins openly, who are as faithful as possible. They see the moon, they give you testimony, you can accept it. Or you see it yourself. So if nobody else sees it, one person in my family sees it, for them to fast tomorrow is haram, forbidden. But for the rest of us to fast the next day is compulsory, it's wajib. Okay, so what happens is that even in the early times, it was possible to have one person in a family fasting and the other person celebrating Eid. Everyone's responsibility is their own responsibility. The Quran Majid says, "In ahsantum li anfusikum." Whatever good you do, you are doing it for yourself. Nobody is obliging you. Nobody is telling you to do this or that. Okay, you do good for yourself. And there is a narration from one of the scholars that I often tell my students as well. He said there was an alim, a scholar, who was on his deathbed. He was on his last stages. And for those of you who may recall, when somebody is dying, you have to face them towards Qibla, towards the direction of Makkah, in such a way that if they were to stand, they would face Makkah. They would face the Qibla, the direction of prayer. And so this man, this alim, this scholar, was in his deathbed, so his son turns him towards Qibla. The scholar, the alim, turns himself away from Qibla. His son puts him back towards Qibla. He turns himself away from Qibla. And a little while later, the son tells him, "Baba, why are you doing this? Please stop moving away from Qibla. I have to move you towards Qibla." The scholar replies to him that I am in a position where my urine is coming out. I'm in a state of impurity there. So for me to face Qibla is haram, forbidden. And for you to face me towards Qibla is wajib, compulsory. So you do what you have to do, let me do what I have to do. Allahu Akbar. You do what you have to do, I do what I have to do. There's no contradiction here. Remember that. There's no contradiction here. Everyone's responsibilities based on the need of the time is different. And sometimes people say, well, why do scholars have different verdicts, different fatwa? Each scholar, Ayatollah Sistani's fatwa might be different than his teacher, Ayatollah Abul Qasim al-Khoyi, and Ayatollah Sistani's fatwa is different than Ayatollah Khamenei's. Ayatollah Khamenei's might be different than Ayatollah Safi Gultaigani's. Ayatollah Safi's might be different than Ayatollah Nasir Makarim's. One of the things to remember is that each alim, each scholar has done his own research, has had to come to his own deductions, has to come to his own conclusions. The same way that our doctors go through medical school, they are trained by their teachers, their professors, their senior doctors or specialists, and one doctor for my headache might give me a Tylenol. Another might say, Panadol. Another might say aspirin is better. Another might say, Advil might help you out. And, it depends on what they have concluded, what the person needs, what is required. If all of the scholars' fatawa were all the same, we as the public would be the first ones to say that they have just taken their teacher's book, or they've just taken the previous alim, the previous marja's book, put their name on it and reprinted it. Everything else is the same. The fact that there are differences shows that the research is ongoing. The research, the study, the deductions, the calculations are ongoing. Whenever a marja has given a fatwa, one of the things that the public does not appreciate or understand, I have been in the city of Qom and myself have gone into a class known as Dars-e-Kharij. Dars-e-Kharij is known as the highest level. Not that I'm a student of Dars-e-Kharij, please don't get any wrong ideas. Dars-e-Kharij means that the final Dars before that group becomes mujtahideen themselves, before they become senior scholars themselves. I just happened to sit in one of the Dars, in one of these Dars-e-Kharij classes, and I saw that when the marja who is sitting, who is like the professor, he's sitting and giving a class, and he's about to explain one of his fatwas, one of his deductions, one of his conclusions. Before that fatwa goes into his book, that is the book that compiles all the fatawa, all the masail, there will be a student that will challenge him. Agha, sir, explain this masail. I don't agree with this. Can you give me the dalil for this? Can you give me the evidence for this? Can you give me the proof for this? There will be a whole host of questions before they will accept what that marja has said. Imagine. A whole host of questions. So the marja the professor has to explain each and every fatwa, and sometimes one fatwa might take an entire week, and in some cases I have seen that it takes an entire month for the fatwa to be explained. Here is the ilm rijal, here are the authorities, here are the narrators, here are the ones who have told me that this is why I have concluded to what I have, here is the evidences, here is my proof, here is what the Prophet had said, here's what the Imam has said, here's what the Holy Quran says. And then, so don't think, there's a misconception in the public. They think that, fatwa just come out of a hat. People, the ulama just have a hat, like those magicians take a rabbit out of their hat. They think that fatwas come out like this. Believe me, it is not like that. Each scholar is responsible to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his fatwa. And I'll tell you one thing, that they have to be very particular before they include a fatwa. They have to be very careful before they give any fatwa. It was narrated, some have said that this was in the time of Allama Hilli, some have said that it was another great alim, another great scholar. So if we take it as Allama Hilli, who was one of the greatest scholars in the Shia faith, a lady had passed away. She was expecting. And so the people came to Allama and they says, Ke Agha, this lady has passed away, she was expecting. Should we take the baby out or should we bury her with the baby inside her? So Allama gave the fatwa, gave the ruling that just bury her, because there are certain hadith that mention that the body feels great pain after it has passed away. So to do any sort of autopsy or any sort of disrespect or any movement, unnecessary cutting or what have you, is extremely painful. So for whatever reason, he gave his order that just bury the mother with the baby as is. Many years later, a young boy comes to the Imam, comes to Allama. He comes to the Allama, he says, Assalamu alaikum, how are you and everything. He says, Allama, do you know who I am? Allama says, no, I don't think I've seen you before. He says that I am that boy who, when you had first given the fatwa, you had first given the order for my mom to be buried with me inside, and then you sent, when they were getting to the cemetery, you sent a message that no, take the baby out and then bury the mother. He says, I am that boy. I am that baby that you saved. And so I just wanted to come in, say salam and thank you. And the young boy, the young man leaves. Allama thinks to himself, I don't remember sending anybody to go and change the fatwa. I don't remember sending anybody to go and give them a new directive that take the baby out. I don't remember doing that. So I didn't do that. So he closes the door. He comes down. He's hitting his head. He said that I almost killed somebody. I almost committed this. I will not give any more fatwas. I will not give any more rulings. I will not give any more directives. He closed the door and he said that. And he was feeling extremely remorseful. What have I done? What have I done? Just that moment, somebody comes knocking. And Allama opens the door and a man is standing there. He says that, did you just make a commitment not to give any more fatwas, not to give any more rulings or directives? He says, yes, I almost made a very serious mistake and I don't want to give any more fatwas. The man at the door tells him that you continue, I am telling you, I'm giving you an instruction, I'm giving you an order. You continue your ijtihad, your process of learning, studying, and continue to give fatwa. If the need arises, we will come and correct the situation, but your job is to continue providing guidance and to give the fatwas to the people. When the Allama looks and says, okay, who's this to tell me this? The man disappeared from the door. La ilaha illallah. The man disappears from the door. He realizes that this is the Imam telling him that continue your work. If the need arises, we will come and correct the situation. Otherwise, you continue to do your job. Allahu Akbar. So the scholars are the authorities on behalf of the Imam. And whenever the Imam deems it necessary, he will correct them. We have had many examples of the time in Imam Khomeini's life, in Ayatollah Gulpaygani's life, in the father of Ayatollah Sistani's life, in the life of Ayatollah Marashi Najafi, and many scholars, and even many ordinary people, whereby they have come and guided their respective scholars, where the Imam has come and guided them, given them instructions, given them guidance. When at that moment they didn't realize it because they were so preoccupied with their own stresses. They may not have realized that this is the Imam, and the Imam just comes and guides them. And there's countless examples like this. So one of the things we have to remember is to be respectful towards our scholars, to be respectful towards us senior ulama, not to degrade them or humiliate them or mock them, especially when it comes to us disagreeing with the fatwa. Remember, they have spent years, decades, studying religion, taking the responsibility from our shoulders onto their own shoulders to bring about one fatwa, one ruling, and one directive. So what right do we have to say, okay, this is wrong, I don't agree with this? And okay, if you don't agree with it, then you go and do ijtihad, you go and study, you go and spend your life for the sake of Islam, for the sake of Ahlul Bayt, for the sake of studying the Quran. You become a mujtahid yourself, you become a senior scholar yourself, and then you say, okay, now this is my fatwa. But make sure you have a dalil for it. The same way when a doctor gives us a prescription, we don't always go and challenge them. We don't always say that, oh, you know what, you're a quack, you're not this, you're that. An architect gives you a suggestion, a building by design. He will tell you that the foundation needs to be like this, the building will be like this, because this is what is practical for what you have explained you need. An engineer will tell you the foundation has to be like this, and this is what will be. A lawyer will give you legal advice, knowing that he has studied law, he has gone through many court cases, and this is what will be the suggestion that he has. So everybody, this whole concept of ijtihad, this foundation of ijtihad, whereby you study and you reach a level where you can derive Islamic law, you can deduce Islamic law, and what we call the marja, who has now the power to be able to guide others and explain to them, this is why that institution was placed in the first place, and something that was there in the time of the Imams as well. Some people have said that this was something that was innovated after the 12th Imam went into occultation, but we have got examples, and in the books of hadith and biography, and the books of biography of the A'immah, we have got examples of somebody coming to the 6th Imam, Imam Sadiq al-Islam in Medina, and says, I have come all the way from Kufa to Medina just to ask you one question. Instead of, saying, oh, good, mashallah, please come and ask, the Imam says, I have a representative in Kufa. I have a representative over there. I have a representative in different places. Ask them. Whatever they answer you, it is as if we have answered you. because we have entrusted that responsibility to them. So keep that in mind, my dear sisters and brothers, that the scholars are representing the Imam while the Imam is in occultation. And whether they are right or wrong, we may say that, okay, in the event that they are wrong, we have got in the hadith that there are two thawab, two divine rewards given to a marja. One is if they give the right fatwa, they get two thawab. If they give an incorrect fatwa, they will get one thawab for the process of learning. This is what's known as ijtihad. The process of learning, they'll still get the one thawab because they did ijtihad. They learned, they tried. If they give the correct fatwa, they'll get two thawab, one for the correct fatwa and for the ijtihad. So remember one thing, unless and until we can do ijtihad, we have to trust the maraja, the senior scholars who are serving them. And that is why when you look at the Tawdi al-Masail, the book of fatawa, the book of rulings for any marja, you go to the very first section, the very first chapter called Taqleed and Ijtihad, to follow a marja. To do Taqleed means to follow a marja, a senior scholar, and preferably the most learned, what is known as A'lam, the most learned. And you see the instructions on how to follow them, how to do that, what constitutes alam, the most learned, are all included in there. So research that, read that, and when you have made the intention to follow the alam that you select, that you decide, now your obligation is to follow him in all the rulings that he has got. And inshallah, again, if you read the books of narration and the Tawdi al-Masail, you'll find more details that you will need to have, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our deeds, our amal, our ibadat, our acts of worship, our fasting, our prayers, our supplications in this holy month as it's coming down to the last few days. We ask Allah to accept us and to accept our deeds. Forgive our sins, forgive our shortcomings. All of those who are ill, cure them from their illnesses. All of those who are in debt, help them fulfill their debts. Oh Allah, increase the sustenance of the believers, inshallah. Oh Allah, we ask you to protect our ulama, the maraja who are serving while the imam is in occultation. We ask you to give forgiveness to the marhumin, to the deceased who have left us. When we leave this world, Ya Allah, protect us from the difficulties of death and the difficulties in the grave. Ya Allah, we beg you, we ask you to return our Mawla Imam al-Hujjah to us. Let us be amongst the companions, the servants of the Imam, and let us see the era of your reappearance, Zamana al-Dhuhur, with our own eyes. Rabbana taqabbal minna. إنك أنت السميع العليم. Oh Allah, accept this from us. Surely you are the knowing and the seeing. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon all of you.
O Allah, help us to be like the Masum who you love the most, like Muhammad. Give us the most excellent manner, like Ali. Make us brave and ready to do whatever makes you happy, like Fatima. Let us be kind and caring towards our parents, like Hassan. Help us to be calm and forgiving, like Hussein. Keep us with the truthful, like Ali Zainul Abidin. Keep us busy in remembering you, like Muhammad al Bakr. Give us knowledge that is useful, like Jafar al Sadiq. Keep Make us appreciate the amazing world we have created. You have created, like Musa al Kazim. Help us to control our anger, like Ali al Riza. Make us please pleased with whatever you have planned for us, like Muhammad al Taqi. Make us to make us for those who have taqwa, like Ali al Naki. Help us to lead the Muslims towards good, like Hassan al Askari. Help us towards our time in praying towards for the 12th Imam, like our al Hajat al Mahdi. Make May we bring peace and act by acting to the teachings of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt.